my name is Celeste Mitchell and welcome to Marketplace. Joining me today, I've got Mr. Markbrickles from the Remax Property Group as well as his attorney, Mr. Jason Frills. And today we're discussing repossessions, how to avoid the bank from taking your home. Am I correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. So just a bit about Mr. Markbrickles. He is the owner of Remax Ultra Select, which is a franchise of the Remax Property Group. It's one of the biggest real estate agents in the world, represented in over 90 countries with over 90,000 estate agents. Am I correct?
That's right.
Awesome stuff. So my first question would be for you, Mark, is why do banks take the drastic action of attaching somebody's home?
Okay. I think Jason can probably explain that better, but obviously it's when people don't pay their bonds, and Jason will explain in more detail.
So there's generally, the banks take that kind of action when someone has fallen behind on their bond and they're no longer paying, or they're paying an amount smaller than the amount that's due. They fall into arrears and the bank is looking to recoup the money that they have lost on the loan that they've given the person to buy the property in the first place.
Okay, so how's this process initiated?
Normally the process is initiated by way of some correspondence from the bank warning the party that they're in default of the loan conditions, of the mortgage bond conditions. And from there, the matter would be handed over to the bank's attorneys, who would send formal correspondence in the form of a letter of demand. And since the advent of the National Credit Act and notice in terms of Section 129 of the National Credit Act, notifying the parties of the fact that they are in breach and that legal action will follow.
Okay, cool. So Mark, you being an owner of one of the Remax franchises, what made you decide to talk about this topic today?
Look, Celeste, it's very sad. We experience this every day where people are losing their homes, and a lot of the times it's just because they don't know what the next step was, or they buried their head in the sand and they did not follow correct procedures. What we've identified is that there are also lots of investors out there who are buying these properties from these people because they know they're desperate and they buy it at a very low price and then they sell it on for a handsome profit. Hence, I thought once people know what the procedure is, look, we can't save everybody's house, right? But if they at least know the procedure and they sell their house in the correct manner, then at least they can walk away with some money in their pockets. And that's why I thought this would be...
That's amazing. So will I know that the bank is in the process of attaching and selling my house?
Generally, you should be informed. The bank, as I said before, would normally send you some form of correspondence to confirm that you are in arrears. Lately, the banks are putting into process some more innovative programs where they approach people and redesign the loan payments to try and accommodate them in certain instances. But generally speaking, prior to your house being attached, you will be informed of legal process by way of a summons being issued and served on you by the sheriff of the court. There are various ways that the sheriff can serve, one of which is by affixing the summons to the door of the property. In that case, there isn't a guarantee that you will become personally aware, but generally speaking, an effort is made and people do become aware that the process of attaching and selling the property has been initiated.
That is so scary. So does the bank have a right to do this, which is sell my home without me knowing about it or without even taking me to court for it?
Theoretically, no. What normally happens is you will receive notification by way of the summons. The bank needs the court's authority in order to attach your property, firstly, and secondly, it needs the court's authority in order to sell the property. So there is a process that goes along with that, and the process is initiated by the service of the summons, as mentioned before. You then have an opportunity within a certain amount of days, normally within 20 court days, which is business days, to defend the action if you feel that you have a defense. And then you go through the legal process of defending the bank's action against you. But generally speaking, a lot of these types of matters result in what we call a default judgment because people aren't aware of their rights and they don't approach anyone to get sound advice. And you end up in a situation where people bury their heads in the sand and try and run away from the situation instead of facing it. And in that instance, the banks will often take a default judgment, which is a judgment that happens when the debtor has not even defended the matter. And under those circumstances, yes, the bank will take the judgment, and once they have the judgment, they will be in a position to execute on the judgment. The execution normally takes a certain route, and that is that there's an obligation on the bank to execute against your movable assets first, which is, for example, furniture and goods and cash. If you don't have enough of those types of assets, movable assets, to satisfy the debt, then the bank will move on and approach the court for an order declaring your property executable. They will attach the property and they will then sell it by one of the various methods that they do use.
Wow, that's so amazing. And Mark, this one's for you. How does Remax as an estate agency protect its clients from something like that happening to them?
Okay, what happened when the recession was really bad in 2009, the banks came out with these special packages for distressed sellers. For example, FNB's got the Quick Sell program, ABSA's got the Help You Sell program, and Standard Bank's got the Easy Sell program. No, sorry, that's, yes, sorry. So basically what happens, for example, I had a client who had a bond of R1 million owing on his property. We sold the house for 750. So minus our commission, etc., you'd be getting about 700,000. Okay, so there's a shortfall of 300,000. Now, normally what would happen is the bank would hold you liable for that full 300,000. Okay, and that can last for 30 years. They can come after you for that money. Okay, but what FNB in this case, they agreed to write off 20% of the full amount, so that was 200,000 written off. In other words, it was 800,000 he owed, so he's got a shortfall of only 100,000, which they also allowed him to pay it over 10 years at 1,000 or at interest free. So he's basically paying 1,000 rand a month to finish it off in the 10 years. And basically, also they did not blacklist him, which is very important. Obviously, he's got some default judgments on his name because he missed the payments, but at least in 5 years' time, he can go on and buy property again. Okay. So that's an example of how we can assist. Look, we've saved many people on the day of the auction. There's various other things we can do. For example, if we do get the buyer with an approved mortgage bond, the bank will also stop the auction. Not always, but we've saved people 2 minutes away from auction. We saved, the bond approval came through, and the bank agreed not to auction the house.
That's amazing. So are there any other options available to somebody who are not able to make the bond payments?
Look, the first step would be to ask the bank for a payment holiday. Okay?
What would a payment holiday be?
Generally, the bank might give you 3 to 6 months where you pay nothing. Then you can also ask them for reduced installments, so for a period. So they might say, okay, you can pay half your installment. And the other option is they can ask, for example, if they've got a 20-year term loan, they could ask the bank to change it to a 30-year term loan.
Okay.
So that are some of the options. We do have other options as well. Unfortunately, I can't go into all of that on the show.
Okay. So just to wrap up quickly, Mark, you as an estate agent, you said you assisted clients on the day of the auction. How did that happen?
Okay, look, they can't call us on the day of the auction. That would be very difficult. But look, if it's, say, two or 3 weeks from the auction, we can still get a buyer. And basically, we would then send the matter on to an attorney, say like Jason, who would negotiate with the bank to accept the offer on the seller's behalf. And yeah, depending on, because sometimes there is a shortfall. Like, for example, the example where I said there would have been a shortfall of 300,000. The bank must still give the authority to say, yes, they accept the offer. Okay, so it's not always that it's going to happen, but it's happened, I think, in 100% of the cases we've dealt with, Jason.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you
My
so much.
experience.
This has been Marketplace, and we chatted to Markbrickles, who is the owner of Remax Ultra Select, and his associate and attorney, Mr. Jason Frill from Jason Frill and Associates. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Marketplace, and I hope this information is useful to some of you. Thank you so much. My name is Celeste Mitchell.